Hello everybody, how's it going? The Weather and Toilet Finder 775 here, and welcome back to another video. So this upload is going to be about my first preliminary winter forecast for the 2020 to 2021 season. And now before I get and move on, before the video starts, I'd like to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel, as it helps it out greatly. Also, about 97% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. It only takes a second and you won't be missing out. I'm also encouraging you to the post notification bell in case you really don't want to miss a single upload from me. This is my third consecutive year doing winter forecasts, starting back in 2018. I really like doing these forecast videos. So this is the surprise. So what's under all these question marks? I'm revealing at the end of the video. Sorry I'm making you wait. ENSO outlooks. When it comes to sea surface temperatures and their impacts on the weather, the area of most interest is the area in the Pacific off the coast of Peru. In this area, SST or sea surface temperature anomalies were within -1 and -2 degrees Celsius of average. Sorry if I said above, or 1 to 2 degrees Celsius below average. According to the Climate Prediction Center, during June 2020, sea surface temperatures were near average in the east central equatorial Pacific and below average in the eastern Pacific. The Niño 4 and Niño 3.4 indices were near zero during the week, ending July 2nd. Meanwhile, the Niño 3 and Niño 1+2 indices were negative. Upper ocean heat anomalies. According to the Climate Prediction Center, negative equatorial subsurface temperature anomalies averaged across 180 degrees to 100 degrees west, pictured right here. They weakened from May to June. However, below average subsurface temperature anomalies, pictured right here, continued in the eastern equatorial Pacific. Also during June, low-level wind anomalies were easterly across the east central Pacific, while upper-level wind anomalies were westerly over parts of the far western and eastern Pacific. Tropical convection was suppressed over the western and central Pacific and around average over Indonesia. Overall, the combined oceanic and atmospheric system is consistent with ENSO neutral. The models in the IRI/CPC plume are roughly split between La Nina and ENSO neutral. Niño 3.4 index between -0.5 and +0.5 degrees Celsius during the fall and winter of 2020 and 2021. ENSO forecast summary. ENSO neutral is favored to continue through the remainder of the summer 2020 with a 50 to 55% chance of La Nina development during the Northern Hemisphere fall 2020 and continuing through the winter 2020 and 2021. About a 50% chance of that happening, though. CPC seasonal outlooks. Official 90-day outlooks by the Climate Prediction Center are issued once every month near mid-month by 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The next outlooks are scheduled by this time on August 20th, 2020. That is actually 8 days from now, just over a week. The 90-day outlooks for this time frame are from December 1st, 2020 to March 31st, 2021. December, January, February 2020 to January, February, March 2021. Now let's look at those temperature probabilities. You can see that across Alaska, those oranges are above those oranges indicate that an area within them is above average in temperatures. And that's predominant across northern and western Alaska. And also dominant across the western, eastern, and southern U.S. with equal chances EC elsewhere. Now let's take a look at those precipitation probabilities. They are equal chances across Alaska, equal chances across portions of the southern and central U.S., as well as the eastern seaboard and New England. But look at this. Precipitation anomalies in the northern U.S. to the Ohio, from the Rockies through the Midwest, northern Midwest, and some of the Great Lakes to the eastward to the Ohio Valley are above average in precipitation, with anomalies ranging from potentially moderately above average, from southeast Montana, northeast Wyoming, all the way to portions of the upper Mississippi Valley, including southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and western Wisconsin. However, on the contrary, southern U.S. is forecast to experience below average precipitation during December, January, February 2020, 2021, with anomalies even ranging perhaps moderately below normal in parts of Arizona and New Mexico, southeast Arizona, southwest New Mexico, and for much of the Gulf Coast, excluding far southern Florida and far southern Texas. Sorry if I'm stumbling around my words again. I apologize. Now let's look at those temperature probabilities for January, February, March 2021. You can see that the above average temperatures in Alaska retreat to slightly above average in the west and much of the north, except for the far north, which is moderately above average, and for parts of the western U.S. through the Four Corner states, central and southern plains, southern plains, deep south, all of the Gulf Coast, and then back up the eastern seaboard into the northeast. The United States are experiencing at least slightly above average temperatures. But temperatures could range moderately above average in the far southern portions of this region, or from California to North Carolina, or basically almost the southern from California through the southern, roughly 2/3 of the Four Corner states, through the southern plains, deep south, southeast, and almost all of the Carolinas region. But on the contrary, below average temperatures are forecast across portions of Montana and North Dakota. Equal chances are still forecast to prevail across much of Alaska, the Pacific Northwest, and down through the Central Rockies into the Midwest and parts of the Great Lakes, the western parts of the Great Lakes. Now let's take a look at those precipitation probabilities. Equal chances for precipitation anomalies to go either way are still prevailing across Alaska, but we're talking about the continental U.S. here. We're talking about the continental U.S. here in this video, not Alaska. Equal chances are also prevailing across parts of the western U.S., the south central U.S., and the eastern and northeast United States. However, precipitation anomalies are still forecast to be above average in the same general areas before, only to a slightly different extent. And the above average precipitation anomalies, the 40 to 50%, have broken up into two different regions. One, from Montana, Wyoming, and far western portions of the Dakotas. And then we have a second region of potentially moderately above average, from Minnesota and Iowa and Wisconsin, all the way to central, northern, and western Ohio, and elsewhere within the northern Rockies to the Ohio Valley is going to be slightly above average. However, on the contrary, below average precipitation is expected to prevail in the same general region as before, only like the above average precipitation regions or moderately above average regions broken up. And even moderately below average precipitation could still prevail across parts of Arizona and New Mexico, and even reaching into parts of far west Texas. And parts of the southeast are still looking to be below average in precipitation, with parts of Georgia and Florida being moderately below average, which is not good news if you want some sort of precipitation this winter. Now we get to my own outlooks. Sorry for all that silence. I was just switching in pointer options for my PowerPoint on this video. So to start things off with my own outlooks, we have an above average precipitation region extending from far northern California down into the central parts of the Rockies, into the Central Plains, South Central U.S., and then back up to the Northeast U.S. and the Mid-Atlantic states. Those are places where you can expect to see slightly above average precipitation. That's what all those A's scattered about mean. Now we have two areas of moderately above average. One extending from Oregon and Washington states all the way down to north central Colorado and the central Rockies. This is kind of typical in the La Nina winter, where the frequent storm tracks in the northwest, tend to lead to precipitation driven above, well, at least, sorry, my brain had a little glitch. Above average precipitation anomalies. And then we have another moderately above average zone of precipitation for parts of the upper Midwest and Mississippi and upper and mid Mississippi valleys. all the way up through the far northern Ohio Valley, northeastward into interior New England. That's another area where one can expect to see moderately above average precipitation throughout this winter. Now let's get started talking about that below average precipitation, where I'm expecting it to be a little bit drier than normal. So first things first, with the below average, we have slightly below average from central California all the way through the southern four corners to southern four corner states, and even into much of Texas. We have slightly below average precipitation, and we even have a gold shade, which represents moderately below average precipitation. That's from southern California, southern Nevada, all the way down to through Arizona and New Mexico, down to south and west Texas. Now, notice those areas where I don't have any colors, that's the equal chances region. And basically what that means is that you're going to be above average, closer to above average, or equally above average, near average, or below average. The closer you live to the above average, the more anomalies lean towards the above average side of things. And the closer you live to the below average side of things, the more likely your precipitation is going to be somewhat below average. Now let's take a look at those temperature anomalies. Now, first things first, to start things off, we're going to talk about our above average temperatures. And we have a pretty big swath of that. Takes up almost the entire southern and western U.S. Southern Oregon, southwest Idaho, all the way through the southern and western four corner states, to the Gulf Coast and south central U.S. and deep south, and even southern South Carolina could all see slightly above average temperatures, and even moderately above average temperatures from much of California to central and southern and western Texas. Equal chances for the region north of that, and even further north, we have a slightly below average temperature region. From Washington State down through Utah and Colorado and the Central Plains, lower Mississippi River Valley, lower Ohio Valley, and the coastal northeast and mid-Atlantic. That's where I'm expecting slightly below average temperatures. And we even have a second shade of blue, which represents moderately below average temperatures. That's what all those B's mean, is below average temperatures. Central Montana down through northern Rockies, down through the central part of the plains, northern Missouri, much of Illinois, and then eastward into the Ohio Valley and interior New England states. That's where you're expecting moderately below average temperatures. And that La Nina phase we may be entering tends to lean towards somewhat of a good signal for below average temperatures. And then we have our final shade of blue, which is a pretty dark blue, where I'm expecting well below average temperatures this winter, which is again typical in La Nina and or ENSO neutral winters, from eastern Montana all the way, and basically anywhere east of the Rockies, and north, basically in the east of the Rockies and north of this imaginary line that I'm drawing with this pointer. Basically, from Montana to Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa is going to see far below average temperatures this winter. Like, I'm not just talking cool shots, I'm talking like potentially frigid polar vortex-like conditions, Arctic blasts also not out of the question. Now let's take a look at that snowfall forecast. And we have, now the first area above average should be pretty obvious, where we have below average temperatures and or above average precipitation. That should be pretty obvious to you. Above average snowfall all the way from the North Pacific Northwest all the way down through the Central Plains and northern Four Corner states, lower mid Mississippi River Valley, and eastward to the Mid Atlantic is slightly above average snowfall. And then we even have a second shade of blue, moderately above average snowfall, for areas from the Pacific Northwest to the Rockies. La Nina tracks typically bring above average precipitation, but I'm still somewhat uncertain on the temperatures. I think it's like cooler than normal temperatures or something. I don't know. Any of you weather people, let me know in the comments. Anyways, let's proceed with the video. Those above average snowfall anomalies coincide with below average temperatures and or above average precipitation, like I said. And then we have a second area of moderately above average snowfall, which extends from eastern Minnesota, portions of Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, eastward through the Ohio Valley, and into interior New England and even parts of the coastal New England could get in on this moderately above average snow. This N/EC means the near average or equal chances for snowfall. And it should be pretty self-explanatory in case you didn't know already. If you live more north within this white region, you're going to be slightly above average snowfall. And if you live on the south side of that, you're going to be below average snowfall. And now let's talk about that below average snowfall, speaking of. From California and Nevada through the southern Four Corner states, southern U.S., and entire Gulf Coast. There's going to see below average snowfall, where I'm not expecting much in the way of snow, if anything. Because of the above average temperatures, below average precipitation, or both. And now let's get started talking about that overall forecast. Time to reveal what's under those question marks. 3, 2, 1. Okay, this is what's under those question marks. So I'm going to break it down region by region for you so you can get a sense of what to expect in the area you're in. Starting off in the west, we have warm and dry, where both above average temperatures and below average precipitation coincide. And we also have a second region of the same thing for New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma. Southeastern Mexico, much of Texas, and South Central and Southwest Oklahoma, where both areas near or below average precipitation and above average temperatures collide. To the northwest, to the east, in between those regions, warmer than normal temperatures can be expected. From West Texas all the way to southern Oregon and northern California. To the north of that region, we have stormy for Oregon, Washington State, and Idaho, and also far northern portions of Nevada and Utah. And for parts of the Rockies, we have mountain snow. Like, I'm not talking just your run-of-the-mill average mountain snow. I'm talking about potentially well above average mountain snow, like feet of it. And then in this blue region, in light indigo region, we have snowy and cold. And that's what you're going to see. More snow and more cold than the rest of the previous regions I explained. To the north of that, we have polar vortex, where I may be expecting some. This may be a La Nina winter, which may tend to drive the polar vortex down further south. And to the south of that, we have Arctic blasts. Like, not as cold as polar vortices, but still pretty darn cold if I do say so myself. Winter battle zone to the south of the Arctic blast. That's where it's going to be warm, cold, rainy, snowy, icy. You kind of get the picture. That's what winter battle zone means. South of the winter battle zone, still stormy. For the Gulf Coast states and South Central United States. And the winter battle zones for Oklahoma, Kansas, eastward through Missouri and Arkansas, down into northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and southern parts of the Appalachians, and even the Carolinas region and southern Virginia. But anyways, in that lavender region, we have clippers. I may be expecting frequent cold snow events to prevail. Cold snow events to make their way into this lavender area. In this light gray region, we have active lakes for portions of the Great Lakes states, where I'm not just talking a little bit of lake effect. I'm talking like a lot of lake effect. And then south and east of that region, we have the worst of winter. From like southeast lower Michigan, much of Indiana, much of Kentucky, northeastward to the interior New England states. I am expecting pretty cold conditions and pretty snowy conditions. Overall pretty bad winter. Some big snowstorms in that dark gray region from Virginia to the coastal northeast. Let's see if I covered all these regions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yep, I've covered all 14 regions and I'm nearing half an hour. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to click like and/or comment and/or subscribe. And thank you for 175 subscribers. It could not have been that milestone could not have been reached without you extra supportive viewers. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.